All right, so in the previous video, we started from the very basic, sorry. We did set up a virtual machine. We installed Python interpreter into it, and then we looked at a few lines of code in Python. Now, in this one, we are going to look at, we'll have a brief, what do we call it? A refresher of what we did previously. So I'm going to open my virtual box. Wait, is my mic recording? Oh, it's recording anyway. Yeah, so we did set up this one, but okay, we can still use it, I guess. I think I figured out the issue of display. So let's just fire it up. Yeah, Windows takes time to boot up. I don't know why. I'm hoping the display will behave. Last time we had we were working with that, just a small section of the screen. All right, the display is not working as expected, so we'll come here and say that. Does that do anything? Okay, perfect. So we did create a folder here, Python classes. We're just going to open it inside a code editor. We also installed a code editor in the previous video, but I think I'll put a link somewhere in the video description on how to install a code editor. And this is what we did learn. Now, like I always say, as a beginner, you need to have can I say holistic approach for any programming language, because like I said, software engineering at the core, we are only doing three things. We are storing data, we are manipulating data, and we are retrieving and presenting data. At the core of any code you read, that's what happens. So we looked at variables. This is how you define a variable in Python. We looked at data types. This is a string data type. This is an integer data type. We have booleans, which are basically true or false. So as a beginner, here is where you let me just do this. I'll explain what that is in Python. This is how you write multi-line comments in Python. It's called docstrings, but let me just do that to demonstrate. So we store data. What did I type? We store data. We manipulate data. Manipulate, is that correct spelling? Okay, manipulate data, and we retrieve and present data. So these are the major three things we do. So you start with storing data. How do you store data in Python? You store data in variables, and I think you can just delete and start again. You store, imagine you are storing information about a person. Think of this as a hospital information management system, whereby you have information about a patient. So you would say the patient's name is Jared. That's how you store the data. The data here is Jared. So in Python, we say this is a value. You assign it to a variable. This is a variable name. You would have the patient's age. The patient's age is 23, for example, and you will have is admitted, for example. Admitted, this will be true to show that he is admitted. Okay, some people do this. Some people put a space in there. I like to put a space in there. I don't know, just happens my hands, I guess. So this is a very simple example of how we store data. Now, how do we manipulate data? So for example, you might want to, this is a little bit tricky to explain, but let's introduce another variable. Let's say we have insurance. Insurance true, so that, or it can be false, so that means they don't have an insurance. So here we might want to say cost, or consultation fee consultation fee equals to, let's say, for example, 300. So we might want to double the consultation fee. So you might come and say new consultation fee equals to consultation fee times 2. Okay. What did I do? What did I do? Am I not getting? Okay, I might say consultation fee, new consultation fee equals to consultation fee times 2, because this person does not have an insurance. So if they don't have an insurance, the consultation fee goes up. Or you could also say if they don't have an insurance, the consultation fee goes down by half. So we are manipulating that consultation fee. So here you might come and say, now you want to see, you want to print out the consultation fee. So you will say print consultation fee. Let's run our code and see what happens. I think autosave is on. Yeah. If you're using VS Code, you can turn this on, so you don't have to hit Control Save every time. So I can just come here and run my code, Savvy with an A, savvy.py. Did you mean print? So I think I mentioned in the previous video, but what gets printed here is called, some people say standard error, but you can just you can just look at it as feedback. The interpreter will give you feedback whether your code did run or not. Of course, how I'm explaining it right now is a little bit unorthodox, but to beginners, this is actually very effective to help them understand. So in most cases, what gets printed here after you run your code will help you understand where the problem is in case your code did not run. So our code did not run, and as you can see here, we have these two tiny arrows here pointing to prompt, and we are getting here a name error, which tells us name prompt is not defined. Did you mean print? So there was a typo there. So let's fix that, and then we run our code. We see that consultation fee is 3,400. Now, what happens when we check the new consultation fee after we've manipulated the consultation fee? So we can say print new consultation fee. Let's run our code again. We see 1,700 is printed. So the consultation fee has been divided by half, as we did here. Now, an interesting way to handle this, if you did this, for example, you would have multiple variables to manipulate, which kind of becomes confusing. But what if we did this? So we say consultation fee now will be consultation fee times 2. Divided by 2. So let's remove this, and then we run our code again, and then you see we are still getting the same response. Have you noticed what happened there? So you could assign a value to a variable here, but later come and reassign another value to a variable here. If this becomes confusing, you could come here and say new consultation fee equals to consultation fee divided by 2. So instead of assigning this to this variable, we can come and say, now I want you to pick whatever is here, new consultation, can't spell today, consultation. Okay, let's put a space there. We are dealing with a lot of variables. Anyway, yes. So now we run our code. We see we are getting the same thing. Interesting. Now, in programming, this is what we call algorithms. This is a very, very, very simple example of algorithms. Algorithms basically is how you approach, sorry, not how you approach, but how you solve a problem. So the first method we saw is we can just come up with a totally new variable, and then we add half the consultation fee to that variable, and then we print it. And then the other one is we saw that we could just do a direct manipulation of consultation fee. And then the third one, we can create a totally new variable, and then do the manipulation of consultation fee and assign the resulting value to that variable. That is what we call algorithms. Basically, the steps you take to solve a problems. So you might have someone using let's just give a hypothetical name, algorithms A, to solve a particular problem, and it's the same problem, but if you give it to someone else, they will use maybe, let's say, algorithms B, so to speak. So now this is a simple way to showcase how we can store data and manipulate that data. But you cannot use variables throughout your code. It becomes a little bit what do you call it? Yeah, you just cannot do that anyway. So for example, we want to create a new we want to assign a new value to consultation fee, but that should depend on what is here. If this is false, we divide it. If this is true, we multiply it by 2. Okay, I don't think that is how it works, but just for, let's just use that as our example. So we have what we call control logic or control flows in coding. That means we manipulate a set of data, or we manipulate something depending on a condition. So if our condition is true, we proceed with these steps. If it's not true, we see how to handle that. And the most okay, not the most common, okay, the most common anyway, the most common control logic is if statement. So you can say if insurance equals to false, and then you put that colon. So you can say the consultation fee equals to, we want to have that consultation fee. One way is just to go and say consultation fee divided by 2. Now let's print the consultation fee while in here, and we see what we have, consultation fee, and then we run our code. We see the consultation fee is 1700. So this code has been executed because this statement, now pay attention, this is going to be confusing, but the code inside the if statement, by inside I mean the code that you indent after the if statement. So if you type if statement and then you indent the preceding lines, that means everything else inside there belongs to the if statement. So if this is true, this code will be executed. If this is not true, this code will not be executed. So if we come here and we say, now we change this to true, now that means this code right here is not true. Even though insurance is assigned to true, it's not true, because we can see clearly that insurance is not true, but it's false. So let's run our code and see what happens. You see, nothing gets printed because this code is not true. So the code inside the if statement will not be executed. Now, in programming, you wouldn't want nothing to be printed. You always want something to be printed so that you know what happens in your program. The quickest way to do that is to just manage the code as it is, or you could use other third-party libraries like Logger to log what happens. But in our case, so what happens if statement gives you a false result? You add another clause which is called else. Okay, so we are saying else print, and then we will put a string in here, so if insurance equals to true, this code will not work. So that means we can say insurance available. So let's run our code. First, let's clear this. Then we run our code. Or else syntax expected this. So again, you need to practice more, get more errors, so that you understand what error indicates what or where. Okay, anyway, yes, so here we are being told that after else there is something that is expected, and the interpreter is telling you it's expecting this. So we put this here, and then now we run our code. We see insurance available. Okay, now look at this flow very carefully. So we are saying a patient does not have insurance, so insurance is false. But here we are coming and say, if insurance is true, insurance is not true, insurance is false. So this code will not be printed. It will move on to the next line. But this is a little bit confusing. Let's just say insurance, because insurance is or you could say unavailable. Oh, we said if it's available, we divide by 2. So we'll say unavailable. And hey, I can't type today. Let's try that again. Unavailable. Now, inside here, after printing the new consultation fee, we could also say, I want you to also print insurance available. Okay, and then we try and run our code. So insurance unavailable, because this is not true. Insurance is not true. So this statement is not true. Now, that was a little bit confusing. Let's use a simpler example. So we want to check if the patient is old enough. So we can say if age is greater than 18, so we want to print, we'll come in here and we say old enough. Okay, now we run our code. You see, old enough, because this statement is true. You can ask yourself, is age greater than 18? Is age greater than 18? Yes. So this is true. This code will be executed. But imagine if this was not true. Let's say we had 10 here. We had 10. Okay. And then we did run our code. Nothing gets printed. And like I said, when you're writing code, make sure you see something as your output, even if it's an error. Make sure you see something. Anyway, so we add the else statement. Else print not old enough. Not old enough. So we do run our code. Python service, see, not old enough, because this statement is not true. So this one will not run. The code inside it will not run. It will move on to the next clause, which is the else clause, and then this will run. So you could do a number of instructions in here. You could maybe, let's say, you could manipulate the age, or you could not add the name. What can we do? Okay, assuming the person is not assuming you want to have a different fee for different ages. So you would say, if age is greater than 18, let's just put it back to 23. So if age is greater than 23, you could come here and say, now the consultation fee, will not be the default we have here. You'll say consultation fee will be consultation fee plus 500, let's say, for adults. If that statement is not true, you could just say old enough to be charged extra. Let's just pull that in there for context. Now let's run our code. You see, old enough to be charged extra. Now we want also to print the new consultation fee. So we'll come here and say consultation fee, and then we print the string. So let's clear the terminal and then run our code. Now the consultation fee is 3,900, and it's telling you old enough to be charged extra. So that is the flow of code. So in this example, we've stored data, we've stored information, and we've manipulated that information through this, and we've retrieved and presented that information to the user. So That is simply on control logic, but not it in entirety. This is just the using the if-else statement. In a future video, we will look at using other statements like while and also advanced use cases of if and else. Now, there are a few things you need to pay attention to in terms of syntax. The if statement will always end, each clause will always end with a colon. By clause, I mean this is a clause. It will always end with a colon. So the colon you see here and the colon you see here. There's also something else we've looked at that we haven't looked at before, and that is the use of those two signs. Now, in programming, this is an assignment operator. It doesn't check whether these two values are equal. This is what checks whether the two values are equal. That's why we could actually add another if statement somewhere down here. We say if, for example, name is Jared, Jared, the colon, don't forget, we could come down here and say print hi name. Okay, just like that, and then we do run our code. We see we are getting a name error. It's saying hi is not defined. That's the other thing you also might have noticed. So in programming, if we don't put any, if we don't put anything, let's go with anything. If you don't put anything within quotation marks, there are two alternatives. There are two meanings from that. One is that thing you're putting there is a string, is a boolean, or it's something you've defined before. And by something I mean it's either a variable, a function. We look at function in future, or maybe let's say classes. We'll also look at classes before. So as you can see, this hi I'm using here, it's not defined anywhere up here, but I have not put it in quotation marks. So that's why I'm getting the name error. So it's also important to understand the use of quotation marks and why we use them in coding and where we use them. So we will run our code and then we see, hi Jared, the name has been printed. Yes. So that is how I hope from this video you've understood a little bit about how code flows, how a line here might be talking to a line up there, or these can be talking to, you know, a line up here. Yes. So in a future video, you look at more advanced use cases of if else, while, and maybe we'll throw in a function if we have the time. Thank you very much. If you do like the content I put up here, just to motivate me to continue putting more content, consider hitting the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.